Hi, everyone. We're heading into our next 2-week set of work. This is October 17th through the 30th. And I wanted to just kind of check in with you guys and see how you're doing. It's really the middle of the semester. Most of you are doing just fine. I'm not calculating grades for every single person, but if you haven't received any notification from me, you can rest assured that you're in the B and A range. I've really appreciated a lot of you doing a lot of hard work to get your papers and your sheets into me, and you're doing pretty well. Again, I try to comment on everybody's work, but I don't always get a chance. There are 35 of you, which is unusually high for an online class, actually, or any that I have ever taught before. But at any rate, I'm enjoying seeing what you have to write, and many of you have given me individual comments about what you're reading about, and I appreciate that too. I like to get to know a little bit about your personalities, and that's just about the only way I get to do that. So with that in mind, I wanted to remind you, just, you know, sometimes it seems like we're going through this course and just reading all kinds of disparate things, but there really are a couple of things that tie all of this together. The 5 themes, of course, that I mentioned to you, those are the big things that have an impact on education in the United States. Religion, it weaves in and out all the time. Should we have prayer in school, for example? Should we fund voucher schools that are religious schools, for example? Those are 2 big areas. Then, of course, teachers and teacher preparation and teacher expectation, all of those things are really at the heart of what you're reading about in your Teacher Wars book. The final assignment for that will probably occur next week, so none of that for this time. But it's pretty dense information, I know, in that book, especially near the end. But it's vital because you're in the middle, you're entering the educational field right in the middle of a lot of this controversy over teacher evaluation, over how to use testing scores, whether or not they are an accurate measure of how well a teacher is doing in the classroom, and so on. So I just wanted to remind you that, you know, at the heart of all of this is teaching and the schools and the decisions they make and how those are affected by what happens socially in our country. And there's so many different trends or streams or impacts that are being made all the time. And you can see this in our news today. So, for example, maybe 2 years ago, Clovis had a controversy at graduation time. There was a student who was a Native American from one of the tribes up in the hills above Coarse Gold and up near Yosemite. And he wanted to wear a feather in his hair to signify his own cultural tradition. And Clovis has a really strict dress code, as many of you know, and they also have a very strict generic look in their graduations. They take their graduations really seriously, and they want the community to also. So there was a huge controversy over that. Ultimately, the student was able to wear the feather in his hair, and recently there was a proposed law to mandate that throughout the state, the students be allowed to wear culturally appropriate, significant items in any graduation. That was defeated. Jerry Brown said that's really a district a purview, not a state purview. So it's just interesting how these all take out, you know, or shake out. Recently, there's huge controversy in Fresno Unified over a board member who expressed his personal opinions about gay and lesbian students, transgender students, and was very disparaging of them. And again, that has stirred great controversy in the community about whether or not he is an appropriate person to represent the community with in terms of expressing these kinds of very conservative views. And I'd like to say too that although it's easy to castigate him, he does represent a certain segment of the community that really is fearful of many things, of many changes that are rapidly taking place in our society. And this all really comes to the surface in our schools, around our children. Another one that is really big recently is the racism expressed by a student in Clovis Unified, who, a student and a couple of others who were tweeting really harsh and ugly sentiments about African Americans. and they were, what they were doing was revealed by another student who then received death threats. And then the district, of course, had to respond to this, even though this was something that happened outside the district on social media. So you're seeing technology interacting with racism, interacting with what the school responsibility is, where it begins and ends, and how the school really does need to address these issues within its community. So all of these things, they just come head to head to head again and again, and we see them over and over again. And unless you've paid attention to that, which is what this class is all about, paying attention to that, you're not even aware. You don't see how those things collide. So that said, last week you had quite a number of different little issues to do a little bit of research about. And I realized that a lot of times just a couple of articles doesn't really give you the whole breadth and depth of these issues at all, but they do make you aware. And that is the purpose of this, to raise your awareness and perhaps to even get you interested in some of them in greater depth. I'm going to post a couple of things that you might want to listen to. There's a great radio broadcast about Carlisle, the Native American Institute, and football. And there was another article recently, and I can't remember what it was, but I'm going to post those in case you're interested in following up on those. They're not required reading, but they're available for you to take a look at if you're interested. This week, I wanted to go over and share real quickly what we're doing. So let me quickly pull some of those things up. And I think you can see this. This is our next assignment. You're going to go to a site that links you to 5 different videos about education. And some of them reiterate some of the topics that we have already studied. Some are new, but I want you to choose 4 of them. 2 of them are about college and about veterans going to for-profit schools. But the other 3 are probably where your concern will mostly be. But you get to choose any of the 4. And then I'd like you to just fill this out, and you'll see that there are 4 of them. They'll expand as you go. So that's pretty self-evident. In the left, it really guides you about what you're supposed to address in these squares. So really, it's just viewing and commenting, okay? So you're going to make a very brief summary, 2 or 3 sentences. Does not have to be long. What does this film imply about the state of public education in America? There's no answer here. You need to look for the implications. That is, what are the implications for teachers, for schools, for how we fund schools, all those kinds of things. What should we be doing? That's not directly stated in the film, but that you are taking away from it. And then comments on how the film reflects any of the themes that we've already been studying, how it connects to any of the other readings or information. I want you to try to make connections, and your own general thoughts and questions about the issue. Okay, so that's 12. Let me put that one away and share a different one with you. Whoop. Okay. So let's go to 13. This is a real short and simple one. On this one, you're going to watch a little clip, a little YouTube clip, about 5 minutes, and 2 articles, sort of pro and con, about the PISA exam. That's the international exam given every couple of years, which compares schools internationally and compares the United States to other schools. So just be aware of this. This is one of those big pressures when we talk about how our students have to be global students. They have to be competitive on a global level if they're going to work in an international community, which more and more we are. So that's just a short assignment. And then the third one looks like it's long, but it's just that you've got a lot of information here. So first, let's pull up the assignment itself. And the assignment itself is to write a reflection. It's going to be about 1 page to 2 pages, no longer. And you're going to choose one of the topics that we've been studying so far. Here's a list. And you're going to reflect about it. Now, in order to write a really good reflection, and this one is a little bit different than the one we did before, so there's a different rubric here. So I've included for you, oops, I have to share this correctly. This little article, which really describes what it means to reflect and how you write a reflection. And it shows you the 4 levels of reflective writing, and also gives you 4 examples from a class that I previously taught. And if you want to, you can try to figure out what the levels are, or is it a 1, 2, 3, or 4 level? But you're not required to do that. That's just there for examples. And then finally, I'm probably not doing this sharing right since I have to go back and forth all the time like this. Whoops, I don't want that. Here's the rubric for this reflective writing, okay? So you can see it's a little bit less comprehensive than the other one was, but it gives you 3 levels on which you're to work. What's the topic? That's the one you're gonna pick. And what does this reflection show? How do you incorporate what you know about the topic that shows that you're knowledgeable? And excuse me, in the middle, what are your own evolving attitudes? How can you show that you are coming to terms with something new, really learning something new? How do you demonstrate or show what you're learning about this topic and how your ideas are evolving? And then finally, clear expression. It is important as educators that you write clearly and that you pay attention to all of these elements of what your final product looks like, so that it looks professional and it looks like a graduate student. Okay, so let me get rid of that and simply say that in closing, what I'd like you to do is I want you to open this up and just write me a short note. What do you think your topic is going to be for the reflection? You don't have to stick to it. I just kind of want to know where your ideas are and what the spread is among the class. So that's going to be a 2-minute assignment. Just open this up, put your name on the top of the paper, and say, Jonica or Dr. Bushman, or I'm not Dr. Bushman, I'm Mrs. Bushman. My husband's Dr. Bushman. But at any rate, just say, Jonica, I think that my topic is going to be this. Okay? So thank you very much and have a great week.